Let me just say what a pleasure. I have to say I'm grateful for the opportunity to be amongst all my fellows in recovery who've already spoken and testified to their own recovery stories. I'm honored to be with Jim Hood. What an incredible leader he is. Greg Williams. Thank you, Greg, for your incredible leadership. Let's give Greg another round of applause. And facing addiction. I'm honored today to be holding this Surgeon General's report. And Dr. Murthy, thank you so much for using your position to highlight a public health epidemic that's gone silent for too long, and you're helping to break that silence through the issuing of this important, significant, historic report. Let's give a great round of applause to Dr. Murthy. So I am a person living in long-term recovery. That means I have not used or had a drink of alcohol since February 22nd, 2011. And I say that not to get the applause, but to illustrate that through 12-step recovery, the support of my peers, a loving wife and beautiful children, and a spiritual life today that I never could have imagined, I'm able to stand up in front of all of you and not feel afraid of being a poser, even though I spent a better part of my life as a politician. And I have to say I'm like that hair club for men guy. Not only am I the founder of the company, but I'm also a client. And not only did I sponsor the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, but I also suffered, and still do, from the chronic illnesses of depression and addiction. And today I deal with that in the same way I deal with the chronic illness of asthma that I also suffer from. And that is the methodology that we've heard spoken about by Tom McClellan most powerfully, and I have to thank Tom McClellan. This would never have been possible. Let's give a round of applause to Tom McClellan. I know he's doing a very good. So my message is what's next? And what's next in my view is we don't want any more separate and unequal standard of treatment for a separate and unequal standard of treatment for a brain illness that we wouldn't treat any other physical illness with. And gone should be the days where you have to go down the hall and drink from the colored water fountain in a separate mental health addiction treatment system that isn't properly funded, doesn't have the respect and attention and treatment availability that it needs to meet the needs of our fellow Americans. Those days should be behind us. And this Surgeon General's report helps to break that important cultural barrier by showing that the science and the evidence tells us that this is a biologically based, genetically based disorder, needs to be treated with the same chronic disease methodology that we treat all other illnesses, that there are proven treatments that work, and the only difference with them being employed or not is whether we reimburse for them in the same way we reimburse for all other chronic illnesses. And that means we have an opportunity to enforce this Federal Medical Civil Rights Act, the parity law, by saying to insurance companies, we're going to hold you accountable. So I encourage those who have been denied wrongfully addiction treatment to file a complaint. Go on parityregistry.org. parityregistry.org. And no matter where you live in any one of the 50 states or U.S. territories, tell us how your insurance company has denied you the same access to treatment for addiction that you could expect to receive if you went to your insurance company with cancer, cardiovascular disease, or any other physical ailment. We need to enforce this law. That means we need you to show up in your state to your state's Attorney General's office and tell that Attorney General to do what Eric Schneiderman did in New York, and that is enforce the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act so that people are not left to die because insurance companies still refuse to pay for and treat these illnesses like the scientific community, like the thought leaders, like the Surgeon General of the United States has said need to be treated. Thank you very much.